Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're looking at a story that, if you just saw the headline, you might just scroll right past it. It looks like a simple construction delay, maybe a local real estate deal gone bad. We are talking about the massive redevelopment project planned for the Shinjuku South exit area, right in the heart of Tokyo. Okay, let's unpack this. This wasn't just any project. We're talking prestige development, maybe worth up to 600 billion yen on some of the most expensive land on Earth. And here's the detail that should, stop you in your tracks. When the developers asked for bids from construction companies, they got zero, none. Not a single company was willing to build it. The whole thing just stopped.
It is, on the surface, almost unbelievable. And if you just write it off as, oh, labor shortages or, well, materials are expensive, you're really missing the point. What we want to do in this deep dive is treat this event not as a random failure, but as what the source material calls a global structural early signal. That moment, that zero bid event, is when the cracks in the entire megacity model, the urban OS as we'll call it, they suddenly became visible.
So this isn't about one building in Shinjuku. This is about the operating system for all modern cities hitting a wall.
Exactly. We're not here to look at the water leak in the basement. We're looking for the cracks in the foundation of the whole building.
Okay, so let's start right there. I mean, Shinjuku has to be one of the most profitable pieces of real estate on the planet. Why would an entire industry, all at once, decide, nope, we can't touch that? Why is zero such an abnormal number here?
Because that simple explanation, high costs or bad budgeting, it completely masks the underlying physics of what's happening. The real issue is something the analysis calls velocity difference. Shear.
Shear, like two things rubbing against each other at different speeds.
Precisely. Think of it like tectonic plates.
Right.
On one hand, you have what we can call the high-speed OS.
Okay.
These are the variables that change incredibly fast, daily, even hourly. Things like material prices, foreign exchange rates, global supply chain issues, they react in real time. But then you have the low-speed OS. And these are the big, heavy things that barely move. They change over decades.
So that's what, population, demographic?
Exactly. The age of your workforce,
Yeah.
the size of the skilled labor pool, government regulations, industry customs. These things are deeply, deeply entrenched.
Okay, I think I see where this is going. So the project gets planned, say, 3 years ago, when the low-speed stuff, the labor, the rules, look stable. But then the high-speed stuff, steel prices, inflation, global demand, it just goes haywire overnight. Is that the shear?
That is the exact mechanism of the collapse. The speed difference between those two systems became so huge, the membrane holding the project's finances together
just tore.
It tore. The original calculation, the one that said this was profitable and possible, was based on a slow, stable world. That world is gone.
It makes perfect sense. The risk just became incalculable because the foundation can't move, but everything on top of it is in a hurricane.
And that leads you right to this concept of an OS non-compatibility error. You've got the developer's logic, the rational OS, which says bigger is always better, more scale equals more profit.
Standard financial logic.
Right. But that logic is now crashing directly into the on-site OS, the reality on the ground.
The world of rigid labor laws, a finite number of cranes, and regulatory bottlenecks.
And when that rational calculation meets logistical impossibility, you get one result: construction impossibility. The city's financial brain and its physical body are speaking completely different languages.
So it's not even that the project was just too expensive. It became structurally undoable with the way we plan things now. It sounds like a system that was designed for a totally different time. But if the megacity model has always been about growing bigger, taller, why is this failure happening now? Why is the lifespan of this urban OS suddenly coming to an end?
It's because three massive structural weaknesses, which have been building for decades, have all hit their breaking point at the same time.
Okay, what are they?
First is the population OS, and it's irreversibly shrinking. The construction industry, you can't just hire anyone. You need skilled workers. That workforce is aging out fast, and not enough young people are coming in to replace them. The fundamental fuel for this city's growth engine, human labor, is running out.
So the demand for growth is still there, but the actual resource you need to build it is just vanishing. That's a huge conflict.
A fundamental one. The second factor is the system OS itself. It's become hard and rigid. The analysis points to Japan's 2024 labor regulation problem, which is a good thing for workers, but it took away the industry's old safety valve. Construction is now a non-stretchable industry.
What do you mean by non-stretchable? Why does taking away flexibility break these huge projects?
Well, mega projects are never linear. They always hit problems, a weather delay, a supply issue, a new regulation. And in the past, you just absorbed that by asking for or demanding or overtime. You'd stretch the timeline. But when those options are gone, when time limits are strict, the risk of not finishing on time becomes astronomical. You can't guarantee it. And if you can't guarantee it, builders will just say, no, thank you, which is what they did in Shinjuku.
Wow.
And the third, and maybe the biggest one, is urban complexity. It's reached a critical mass. See, the cost of just managing a mega city doesn't grow in a straight line. Once a city gets past a certain size, that cost goes up exponentially.
It's like compound interest, but for bureaucracy and maintenance problems.
That's a perfect way to put it. The cost to maintain old subways, to manage traffic, to handle waste, it skyrockets. The city becomes this being too big to move.
Yeah.
It spends so much energy just staying alive that it suffocates any new complex projects. So that old idea that bigger is always more profitable, it's just dead.
That is a pretty staggering diagnosis. And if Tokyo, which everyone thinks of as this hyper-efficient city, is hitting this wall, this can't just be a Japan problem. The analysis uses this phrase, the world membrane. Is this failure of the megacity OS happening everywhere?
It is absolutely a global phenomenon. Tokyo just happens to be the first to get the signal, loud and clear, because of its unique mix of demographics and regulations. The entire world membrane, as you said, is feeling this same strain, the same shear and complexity.
Okay, so where else are we seeing these cracks appear?
Well, the symptoms look a little different everywhere, but the disease is the same. Look at London. You're seeing major high-prestige developments just failing to break even. Why? Volatile escalating material costs. That's the high-speed OS overwhelming the financial model.
So that's the shear at work.
Directly. Then you look at Toronto. They've had a chain reaction of construction projects being frozen. The developers just can't get the financing or the labor guarantees to even start.
The non-compatibility error.
You've got it. And even a place like Singapore, which is famously efficient, is facing a rapidly tightening labor supply. That instantly makes any big project harder and riskier to execute.
And the complexity cost, the city being too big to move.
You see that very clearly in Seoul.
Yeah.
The analysis shows that the profitability of these huge integrated mixed-use buildings, the classic symbol of a successful mega city, is just plummeting.
They're too expensive to run?
The maintenance and operational complexity are eating all the profit. They built a giant, and now they're stuck feeding it.
So all these cities are wrestling with the same forces. But Tokyo's specific pressures made the outcome in Shinjuku the most dramatic one. Just a total rejection.
Exactly. When you look at the data and the analysis, Tokyo has the highest total membrane tension score. It gets a score of 18. You can think of Tokyo as the most sensitive instrument on the global dashboard. It's just built to feel these future stresses first.
So the Shinjuku stop wasn't really Tokyo's problem. It was the world showing Tokyo its own near future.
That's the takeaway.
That completely changes how you think about global investment and risk. So if this urban OS is breaking down, what comes next? How does the city start to reorganize itself?
It's important to see it as a gradient, a transition over time. Big systems don't just flip a switch overnight. In the short term, say the next 1 to 2 years, you're going to see more of the same, more delays, more bidding failures in those prime central areas. This will force a very pragmatic shift. The market will move toward what's actually manageable.
Smaller projects.
Exactly. We're talking mid-scale development, specifically buildings in the 15 to 25-story range. They're just easier to staff, easier to budget, and far less complex to manage.
So the market just sidesteps the impossible complexity of the super talls and retreats to what can actually get built?
It has to. It's a defensive move. Then, in the midterm, 3 to 10 years, the OS itself starts to pivot. The whole model shifts away from centralized gigantism and toward dispersal, toward a multi-nuclear or poly-centric city.
So let's focus on one giant downtown.
Much less. The financial models for those massive single-destination hubs will just stop working. They're too risky, too expensive to maintain, and too rigid for the new reality. And then, in the long term, 10 to 25 years, you get the complete phase change.
Okay.
2 big things happen. 1, the construction industry is forced to automate. They have to solve the labor problem structurally. And 2, this is the crucial part, the city's value proposition shifts. It's no longer about physical height or density. The new metric is connectivity.
Connectivity, you mean the network that links all of these new, smaller city centers together?
Yes. The ability to move people, goods, and data quickly and seamlessly between all of those decentralized hubs, that becomes the new measure of a successful city. The multi-nuclear city becomes the standard. The city's identity changes from being a single giant monument to being a resilient, flexible network.
It's incredible. We started with one failed construction bid in Tokyo, and now we're talking about the end of the entire 20th century model of the city. So let's bring this all the way back. How does this huge structural shift actually affect you, the listener, in your daily life?
Oh, the impact is very direct. First, think about your residential choices. Your dependency on a single central hub is now a liability. Those giant, complex central facilities are going to carry more and more maintenance debt. Mid-scale, decentralized neighborhoods that can be easily updated, they become a much better bet.
Okay, that makes sense.
Then look at careers and labor. The value of the very things that cause this crisis-skilled construction, infrastructure, logistics, it's going to rise sharply. These become the truly AI-resistant jobs because they involve solving complex physical problems in the real world.
So the people who actually build and fix the physical world become the system's most valuable asset.
Absolutely, they become the bottleneck. And finally, your lifestyle changes. You'll see a necessary move away from relying on one giant hub, the Shinjuku of today, and toward a life lived between multiple, smaller urban nuclei. Your office, your home, your social life. It all becomes more intentionally spread out. Navigating that polycentric city becomes an essential skill.
It's just fascinating how one local event can pull back the curtain on a global trend that's been decades in the making. The Shinjuku stop really wasn't a random accident. It feels more like the starting gun for this massive transition.
It was. The urban OS is shifting under our feet, quietly but definitely. And it forces us to question all of our old assumptions about what urban growth even means. And this raises an important question. When the gigantic urban OS does begin to collapse under its own weight, from which direction will the next sustainable urban model truly begin to emerge?
Something to think about, for sure, as we all start to watch for those new nuclei emerging in our own cities over the next few years. Thank you for walking us through this.